some people are wired to where they just want to hear that they've done a great job and they can walk away and be happy. I need to know that I made an impact in a positive way on someone, somewhere, somehow, and that it will continue to make an impact, and that impact will trickle down and make an impact and make an impact and make an impact. And I can keep on with that ripple effect. So in order for that to happen, what I need to know what I did well. If I did something well, I need it specific, not because I need a pat on the back, but because I need to be able to duplicate that on purpose.
Well, hello there, beautiful, and welcome to another amazing episode of The Gifted Table. I am your excited and delighted host, Dr. Melanie Harris. Thank you for pulling up your seat real close. Today, we're having another episode of The Ladies Lounge. And who better for me to lounge with today, who's pulling her seat up really, really close, but Dr. Talisa Sullivan, right here on The Gifted Table.
Well, good morning, and I love your energy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be in this ladies' lounge with the beautiful Melanie Harris, Dr. Melanie Harris.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Gifted Table family, you recognize this face. You recognize this beautiful face. She has been on here once before. Do you know when? With the Mosaic Legacy.
Faith is one of our core values. Also, diversity is another one of them. And we talked about Mosaic being multicultural and making sure that we have diverse individuals that are serving. You know, the women that you see on the board are not just because they're of different ethnicities and different races. It's because these women show up to events. These women are a part of the thread that Mosaic is about.
Right. Do you remember her and all of her gifted jewels that she just threw on the table, all of her energy and all of her insight? So sis, welcome back to the table. And I'm so glad that we are having this ladies lounge and featuring you today. How you feeling?
I'm actually feeling really good. I appreciate the opportunity and the time. I'm super excited to engage with you today and with your audience. So amazing.
So, let's get into it. We're still talking about empowering others, and you have an incredible leadership background. You're an incredible woman. You're doing so many things. So let's first just start off by telling the audience here at the Gifted Table a little bit about who you are and what is your background as a leader.
I am Dr. Talisa Sullivan, and I earned my PhD in 2015 in urban leadership from Claremont Graduate University. And I share that with you not to brag or boast, but I share that with you because of the journey it took for me to get there, Dr. Melanie. I am not a traditional academic student, or I say I was not. And so for me to be able to show our students and our families that you can be whoever you choose to be is super important. So I want to share that first and foremost. My background is really working with marginalized populations, educational inequities for different groups, ethnic groups and student groups, adult groups that are historically and traditionally marginalized. And I have been in education for over 20 years, have worked across 5 counties in Southern California. And I'm just going to put a plug in. I am the creator of the Quantum 10 framework, which is also a conference. And we can talk about that a whole nother time. But I'm just super excited to just pour into other individuals and to empower women and other girls and men too, often as we move forward on this journey called life.
Absolutely. And, we're not going to brush past what you just said, ma'am. I understand about being like not the non-traditional academic person. Yeah. My journey too, I've shared that some time and in different groups. But let's be clear. You are part of less than 2% of the population, ma'am, who have their doctorate degrees. So we're not going to slide past that. That is an amazing accomplishment. So proud. And it does inspire other people that, hey, I can do this too. It's a journey. So congratulations on that. And yes, Dr. Talisa, we are going to continue to say that doctor is in the house, in the house. So you talked about working with marginalized groups and just having a passion for that. Why is that a passion of yours?
I don't know that it was intentional when I started in education to really gravitate towards marginalized populations. I just know the right thing to do is to ensure that people have what they need and to ensure that with excellence. And so that's who I am. That's what I've done. That's what I learned growing up from my parents. And so I think in the educational system, I would always look to see how I can best serve our students, our staff, whomever I'm working with. And I think with that, I just started doing things that I found out later in life were equitable practices. And so then I started to actually dig in and say, well, how do I do what I'm doing naturally on purpose? And so we all know that some people have natural talent for things, and it can be good. But if you use your naturally God-given talents, and then you research and you study and you practice, that is like synergy from the universe that you can't duplicate with just natural talent. So then I started to just like do the research on how do I best serve population. And actually what inspired my dissertation was working with marginalized youth. And so I just have a passion for it because, not that I was, in any like situation where, it was like trauma and like all of that, but I mainly noticed that me, myself, didn't understand why I felt like sometimes I didn't belong. I couldn't understand it. And it took for me doing the research and understanding that we were brought here, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. And that sometimes we are misplaced. And so I just really gravitate towards those who really are in need of the extra resources and support in order to thrive.
And when we talk about marginalized groups in education, that's totally different than, say, if we just talking about marginalized groups in politics or marginalized groups in a particular community. Who are you targeting?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I'll say that it depends on what the situation is. Our most marginalized populations are, based on the data, are Latinos, are African Americans, Native American, Pacific Islanders. We have our special education population. Those are the individuals that I gravitate towards to ensure they have opportunities, access, and success, mainly because they're often overlooked and underrepresented in the curriculum, also underrepresented in, more than just the curriculum in the society as a whole, getting jobs. A lot of times there are stereotypes about different populations, different ethnic groups, and those stereotypes transition over into our society, which causes us to not, be sought after as the top candidate for certain jobs and certain fields and things like that. I don't want to miss any student groups, but I'm going to say, looking at the data academically, there are students that are underperforming, but then we also there's a social emotional portion of it too. And so I'm looking at more data on with our LGBTQIA youth as well. And so those individuals that are underrepresented, they're, having higher suicide rates. I can even speak to our Asian American population as well. And I'll say that Asian American Pacific Islander because the model minority myth, and it is that they're okay because they're academically prepared and they're excelling. But there's that student group as well, even though academically we don't see the decline or we see that their scores are higher. But sometimes there's a pressure on that student population, and there's some high suicide rates for, and I'll say attempted suicide rates for those populations as well. I don't want to leave anyone out. If the data shows that the students are in need, we go after that student group to ensure that we provide resources and support, because at the end of the day, if we support the most marginalized population, it will cover all student groups.
I don't know if that means tender, loving care, but ma'am, if it's prominent behind you, tell us, what is the TLC that you're representing right now?
Well, thank you for asking. It stands for Transformational Leadership Consulting Services. And that is it's a for-profit actually business that I started, I want to say a couple of years ago, maybe like 5 or so years ago. And with no business sense, because I really didn't have it at the time, and I'm developing it more. So as everyone knows, I'm developing it more. But it is about transformational leadership, just working with other leaders of different caliber to empower, impact, engage, and just ensure that they have all the tools necessary to thrive. And so it is the hope that we have the Quantum 10 that will framework, again, that I mentioned that I developed, and want to be able to provide professional learning opportunities to help our leaders to see that there are some elements in education that we work with that are evidence-based and research-based, that we work with in silos. We want to push working with those elements in tandem. And so that is the Quantum 10 framework. So the goal is to ensure that I'm able to empower through the Quantum 10, but also through other avenues that maybe we'll have a chance to talk about today as we continue with this opportunity to engage.
My doctorate is in organizational leadership, and we had a focus on transformational leadership. We get these academic buzzwords and, the jargon that starts to be out there. But when we're really looking at transforming leadership, what are you seeing today that leaders really need to be aware for being able to transform their leadership style, or transform their organization?
What I'm seeing today is I'm seeing some very passionate leaders out there. And when I say passionate, I love passion. I think one of the things that we fail to remember is that when we are out there and we're doing our work, we mean well. We all go in every single day to say, hey, I want to make sure that my staff has everything that they need because they're actually providing for my students. And so I see leaders that go in every day with that mindset, like, I'm going to make sure my leaders have everything they need to be successful. The thing that happens is that sometimes our intent is different from what the impact is. And we need to recognize that even though we have positive intents for things, that there's still an impact if things don't turn out the way we had hoped. Like, I can even tell you that for me, when I was applying for principalships, some of the conversations that I would have at the level of trying to get into a principal job is, like, wow, you're a great candidate. You have so many great skills. However, you need a lot of support. That right there, I know your intent. Your intent was to say, hey, you know what? We want to make sure that you're successful, and so we don't want to put you in a situation that will cause you to not be successful. But what actually came out and what transpired kind of sounded like, well, you're not qualified for this and we're not giving you this job. So the impact of that is that people can start to doubt themselves. And then also they're not able to get into the role that will cause them to make that positive impact on other individuals. So we need to be mindful that what we say, the words we use, are impacting people's lives, and we need to intentionally use words and language that will empower people. So if you're going to go in to a leader to say, hey, this is a great opportunity for you, but we're going to move in a different direction. Think about how you can craft that in order to say it so that the individuals are not feeling inferior or as if they don't belong or as if they're not qualified, because the truth is that they can rise to the occasion if you provide the support that's necessary for them to actually execute that assignment. You just choose not to. And so using your words and your actions to impact in a positive way and being intentional about everything we do. And when there is an impact that's not positive, like, own up to it, acknowledge it, and say, hey, I know my intent was this, and I know that it made an impact, and I'm aware of that. How can we move forward, and what can I do to make this right?
Listen, I thought you had been in one of several interviews I've had in the past where when I've had to follow up, hey, you interview well, you have lots of strengths. However, and it is that, however, that, but, the comma, whatever the comma is that someone's going to add to that conversation and change the narrative that can affect the mindset of person on the other end of that. And you're right. As leaders, we have to be very aware of the language we use and how it will be communicated over to the person. It's like, pay attention to your audience, pay attention to the body language, of how your words are affecting someone. But you're right. There are so many times when, as leaders, it is how you deliver, the delivery of what that looks like. And if there is a delivery that's saying not you yet, then tell them how, what we can do. Or are you going to step out of the box and color outside the lines and say, you know what?
Let me try this.
Right. I hear, your passion. I see where you've been. Take a chance on you. I think that we can support you along the way. You can come into this role. When do we start coloring outside the lines? As leaders.
Love that, sometimes. Dr. Melody. When do we start? I haven't heard that before. When do we start coloring outside the lines in this context? You said fit. And when you talked about fit, like, people have told me my entire career, like, you fit anywhere. The thing is that we have to create a sense of belonging. And that's the whole point. The point is creating a sense of belonging. And I love how you phrased it, like take an opportunity, take a chance on you. And so, yeah, let's take a chance on our leaders that we see have the skill, the will, the qualities, but that may have some deficits. And I don't even want to use the word deficit. So hopefully we can just like not even say that, but that has some areas of growth. That's what I want to say.
Areas of growth. Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you think about the roles that you've had as a leader, in your positions, what would you say has been your most impactful leadership role?
I'm just going to say my entire career as a leader has been impactful in one way or another. And I will say, when we talk about most impactful, I'll say positive and maybe not so positive. Positively, the most impact has been when I've gotten specific feedback as to what I need to do different. I often get no feedback. I usually will get, oh, great job. Oh, that's good. Or something like that. And I don't know what to do with that. And I say that because some people are wired to where they just want to hear that they've done a great job and they can walk away and be happy. I need to know that I made an impact in a positive way on someone, somewhere, somehow, and that it will continue to make an impact, and that impact will trickle down and make an impact and make an impact and make an impact. And I can keep on with that ripple effect. So in order for that to happen, what I need to know what I did well. If I did something well, I need it specific, not because I need a pat on the back, but because I need to be able to duplicate that on purpose. And then if there's something that I need correcting, and sometimes it feels like a big punch in the gut, punch me in my gut so that I can get better, because then I'm better for whomever I'm serving. That might be my team. And that way I can pour in and then I can do it properly, instead of if there's something that I'm doing that is not making a positive impact, I don't want to keep doing that. Those have been the most impactful, but it's far and few in between.
And what I hear you saying is that you're looking for evidence, you're looking for elaboration.
Yes.
You're looking for examples. When you give the example, great job. I love how you were including student voice in your lesson plan. Or, oh my goodness, when I walked in, I saw just how the students were just collaborating together, and it was a sense of community. Just give me that more. Give me that more. Give me an example, elaborate, or give me evidence. That's the way I grow. And as leaders, oftentimes it's difficult to be transparent, but that's what I hear us talking about today. Being transformative by being a transparent leader. Tell me what I need to do better. Show me some evidence of where I'm excelling, because there's always room to grow, right? Yes. But where are some places where I can transform? And that, you're right, that's where the impact happens, when we as leaders grow. When you think about some of the women leaders who have been impactful in your life, has helped to transform your leadership style or how you approach being a leader, what are some experiences you have had with other women leaders that's impacted your leadership role?
And I'm smiling from ear to ear because I love when we get together and we band like nobody's business and empower other women. And it has been so, there's been so many opportunities. And, I don't want to start naming people because then I don't want to forget someone, but I have some extraordinary female mentors in my life that continue to pour in, like today even. And so with that, my experience has been above and beyond. It has been, hey, you got a minute? Sure. Call me right now. It has been, meet with me. It has been like so empowering because there's some experiences that I haven't had yet. And so I know where my strengths are, but I also know where my areas of growth are. And so when I'm having a time where there's an area of growth, I love being able to call my sister and say, hey, I need to talk this through because I'm not sure what to do. And I love when they say, I'm not sure what to do either, but we can have a conversation about it and I can guide you. This is your journey and not giving me the answer because I don't want the answer. I just want guidance. I want to have a conversation. I want to talk to you, sis, to see how does this sound? Is this coming out right? Does this sound, how can I better phrase what I'm about to say so that the impact is not interpreted malicious, information, but that it's interpreted to be useful for career growth. And so I can go on and on about the women who have impacted my life, specifically women of color that have been involved, but also white women as well. I've had a few in my life as well that have, just poured in and just doesn't stop. So that has been my experience with women leaders.